This is the Mercer Museum, named for Henry Mercer, who was collecting everyday artifacts from the 18th and 19th century. When you think of professional historians at the time in the early 20th century, they're telling stories of presidents and wealthy people and generals. Henry's telling the story of farmers, artisans. What he was inspired by was that in the late 19th century, in 1897, so the story goes, he is in a junk shop looking for a pair of fireplace tongs. And he looks around and he sees that all of these handcrafted tools are selling for pennies. Now, he was an archaeologist previous to this point. He knew what would happen to those tools. They'd be in the ground, or they'd be destroyed, or the next generation wouldn't know how to use them because power tools and industrialized tools were replacing them. So that's what he's doing. You don't have to be into tools to enjoy this museum. The display itself is unique. What he wanted to do is show you things from different perspectives, right? You're never really looking at the bottom of a chair, but when you're in this museum and you look at the ceiling, you're looking at the bottom of the chair. The Doan Gang exhibit is utterly unique in terms of telling that story. I know we have the American Revolution Museum, but this is really getting into a specific area that historians really haven't done anything. I was a professor for 20 years, and when I was lecturing on the American Revolution, I just said there were 30% of the population supposedly were loyalists, and that was it. This really breaks that open. So the Doan family came from Upper Bucks County. The label loyalist, so in 1777, Pennsylvania passed a law that you had to swear an oath to the Patriots. And if you didn't, you were labeled as the disaffected, or in worst cases, loyalists or traitors. Their father was labeled the loyalist and eventually had his farm taken from him. So during the Revolution, they were actively helping the British in terms of smuggling people out, stealing horses. Then after Yorktown, right after Yorktown, when the war is, we're told in schools the war is over, but really it's not. The revolution is not secure domestically. The Doan Gang became known as Doan Outlaws because they committed their first robbery down at the Newtown Treasury. And at first that was the idea, we're going to rob the government. But then as time went on, it spills over into robbing citizens and that sort of thing. They get labeled as outlaws. Moses Doan was killed in a shootout. And then shortly after they wrote the Constitution, Ben Franklin, who was in charge of Pennsylvania at that time, said enough is enough. And they had 2 Doan Gang members in custody and they hung them. And they were the only 2 people in America who were hung for the crime of outlawry. Bucks County has a number of caves. And so the story is that they were hiding out in caves at times and that they had stolen gold. A lot of those caves are on private property and they don't have access. One of our curatorial members, one of those properties turned over, and the man let him go down and dig, and he did find the initials that were supposedly Moses Doan, MD, 1775. That was what he was searching for his entire life, and he found it.